Hey, it's Theo and thank you for joining me. And today we are looking at every new Druid card from the across the Timeways expansion. Now there's going to be one very greedy card coming up, possibly the greediest card ever, and a bunch more interesting cards. Now I've been doing these reviews now for a couple of days already with the classes this week, and I'll be doing more next week with the remaining classes, so make sure to subscribe to stay tuned for that. And if you missed out on some reviews, I got a playlist for you with every single review I've done. Now let's get started with that fabled legendary for Druid, which is Lady Azara, a 5 mana 5/5. Choose one, empower Jinajari or the Well of Eternity. The other gets destroyed. Now, of course, what are the other two cards that come with the fabled card? Well, the Well of Eternity is a 4 mana 3 durability location. Fill your hand with random temporary spells, so that's a ton of value. 3 times like a kind of Sunwell card, even though, they are temporary. And then Jinajari, can you spell it? A 4 mana 3 durability location as well, which says summon a copy of a friendly minion. So that is a pretty strong card. That's just faceless on a card, and you can do it 3 times as well. And then you could potentially, with Lady Azara, upgrade these two, and then what you get are these two cards. So then the Well of Eternity, the spells that you get from it cast twice. And for Jinajari, the stats of the copied minion get doubled. So fortunately not double copy, because that might be really broken if you could like double copy something like Aulonius. These locations seem pretty powerful by themselves, like depending on the deck, right? Like copying minion depends on what deck you're playing, but often there's like Zilliax, right? And slower decks, that's already good enough to copy. Or maybe there's some combo you want to copy, some death rattles, lots of options to copy. Copy effects have always been really strong in Hearthstone. And then the Well of Eternity, just get a handful of temporary spells that potentially even cast twice. Like, that's insane value. And before you say, well, wait a minute, Kil'jaeden is infinite value. Yeah, well, what if you discover Kil'jaeden with this card? That is possible, so that is Kil'jaeden on top of more value. So very greedy card. Oh yeah, obviously you do need a lot of mana for that to really be worth it, right? But you do want a lot of mana though before you really cast this, right? Oh yeah, you can also cast it like early, right? Maybe get some removal that you need, or you need some damage or board or whatever. Lots of options that you can get with this, of course, and then you just pick the cards you want. Potentially cast twice, like what if you get a fireball, right? That's then just 4 mana deal 12. And of course, Druid can get a ton of mana. You can Zera to 15, then New Heights, and then go even up to 21, and just potentially play all the cards of the Well of Eternity. And then, you can do it 3 times, so that's pretty incredible. Now, one downside, though, is that Lady Azara, if you upgrade one, it destroys the other. I think it means that if it's on the board in your hand, in your deck, right, it's just gone, the other one. So you really need to know what you want in that matchup you're playing. But it can also be, right, that you get like first, like you get one of these locations, then you use the location, and then you play Azara, and then you upgrade the other one, and you're not destroying anything. So that can be some extra value with that if you have time to do all that. It takes a while though to use all these location charges. But overall, this card looks really good, right? Just copying is so strong. Like every time there's a copy card in Hearthstone, it pretty much sees play. As always, very strong. Then we got the Well of Eternity, just tons and tons of value with it, and you can do that multiple times. Just seems like a really good card to me, and I'll be giving this 4 stars. Then we're going to a little bit more basic card compared to the previous one. It is Wave Shaping, a 1 mana nature spell. Discover a card from your deck. The others get put on the bottom. So this card looks very much like tracking. It even has a nature tag on top of it, which generally is an upside. There might be some synergies with it, but it's even better than tracking because you put the other 2 cards on the bottom. And if there's 3 cards as options, right, you probably have like a good card and a maybe mediocre card and a bad card for whatever match you're playing. So you pick the good card and then you put the mediocre and bad card on the bottom, which makes your top decking better on average. And on top of that, this card gets you more info, right? You know what card you won't be drawing, which 2 cards, and which cards you're more likely to draw because you know what's at the bottom. So this card just looks really strong. It's 1 mana, get a card from your deck, and on top of that, actually makes your draws better. So just really good card. And there are some even additional benefits this card has that we'll get to in a little bit. So just incredible card. I'll be giving this 5 stars. Then the next card we have for Druid is the Kelderai Cultivator, a 3 mana 3/4 Battlecry. Discover 2 beasts, put them on the bottom of your deck with +5/+5. So it's a spider tank by itself. Not very good nowadays. And then you get 2 beasts that you put on the bottom of your deck. Now we'll get to a card that draws the 2 bottom cards in a little bit. But this card just doesn't seem very good. So what you do, right, is play this card. Which isn't very strong, right? And you put 2 beasts at the bottom of your deck. And then you need to play a card that actually draws those cards from the bottom. Now, we already had a neutral card, right? That swaps the deck. But is this really worth it for a random beast to get +5/+5 for a 2-card combo? Just just doesn't really seem worth it to me. Like, yeah, you can draw the bottom cards as well. It's like an Arcane Intellect for the bottom cards, and then yeah, you spend 6 mana, and then you still have to play those beasts with those extra stats, and then yeah, they're probably just not amazing beasts, right? Like random beasts are not super amazing. Like I just don't think you can afford to play these kind of cards. Just too random what you get, and it just takes too much effort to get some payoff. So I don't think you want to be playing this card, and I'll be giving it 1 star. Then we have Contingency, a 3 mana spell. Draw the bottom 2 cards from your deck. So now, baseline, this card is just an intellect, right? Like if you didn't do anything about your deck, no shuffling or anything to the bottom, yeah, it's literally just Arcane Intellect, which isn't the worst. It used to be pretty stable, right? But nowadays there's a way better draw. But that's kind of the bottom, right? It's just an Arcane Intellect. But drawing the bottom 2 cards is actually pretty amazing with the next card, the Legendary, the second Legendary for Druid we'll get to. So that, yeah, I think that makes this card pretty solid. Just, I don't think it's you really want to play this by itself unless you're really desperate for card draw, and I just don't think Druid is really desperate for card draw right now. There's enough card draw, and then just playing an Arcane Intellect, not really worth it in most decks, but I think with the synergy of the bottom 2 cards, I think it will be a solid card, and I'll give it 3 stars. Then the second Legendary I already mentioned for Druid is Krona, Keeper of Eons, a 6 mana 4/7 with Taunt. Battlecry, set the cost of the bottom 5 cards of your deck to 1. So yeah, that works really well with that draw card we just saw. And it feels like one of those cards that goes really well into like Ramp Druid kind of decks. We already see kind of right now that it's seeing a tiny bit of play, Ramp Druid. And this way you can cheat out so many things, right? With the 1 mana Discover card we had earlier, right? You played it early. You see 2 big minions that you can't play on like turn 4, right? Well, it's actually great. You put them at the bottom of your deck. Then you play this one. Then those get reduced to 1, and then you draw them with the 3 mana, the Arcane Intellect, and then you have like 2 late game cards like Ysera, Fire right? Those kind of cards for 1 mana, and yeah, that is really strong, especially if you can do it like turn 5, turn 4, because you're playing Druid, and that seems like incredibly powerful, right? Just making any cards cost 1 has always been very powerful. And I think this card is no different. You can maybe shuffle cards later in the game if you want to do some combos, make it 1 mana, right? Like Shell you can shuffle your own minion into your deck, then play this. Probably too much for setup, but those kind of cards could make this even better. And just reducing 5 cards to 1, especially when you have a ton of expensive cards in your deck, is pretty incredible, I'd say. Though, of course, yeah, you do need to play the specific decks with a pretty high curve, or get very specific cards at the bottom. But overall, just really, really strong card, right, for those decks. I'll be giving it 4 stars. Then we're getting to some cards that maybe aren't as good as those legendaries we've covered, starting with Alternate Reality. A 2 mana spell. Replace your hand and deck with random choose 1 cards from the past. They cost 1 less. So this is a bit like Announce Darkness, Renounce Darkness, and yeah, those cards never saw play. Just they're not worth running, right? You replace your hand and deck with random cards. Choose 1 card. Yeah, they cost 1 less, but yeah, choose 1 card. There's no synergy between them, right? You didn't build your deck around it, and then reducing them by 1 isn't enough to make up for that. Just a meme card. They can be fun to play with, but competitively, I don't think this card will see any play. I'll be giving it a 1-star rating. And the following card we have is the Highborn Mentor, an 8 mana 6/6 Battlecry. Get a 2/2 pupil. Discover a spell that costs 7 or more from the past to teach it. So then you get this Highborn Pupil you see here, the 2 mana 2/2 that you can then play. So it's a little bit like the school teacher, right, where you got a smaller minion that would cast another spell. And getting cards from the past isn't that great, right? Cards, especially very old cards from like 10 years ago, they're way weaker than cards right now. And you might get one of those as options, or all options, and then or some very specific options that you just don't want, and then you just have some bad choices, right? And this is just 8 mana, right? And you don't even get anything from it. It's still 8 mana, and then you have to play the pupil. So it's really a 10 mana card here. And then you get for 10 mana a 6/6, a 2/2, and a spell from the past. That's pretty expensive. Yeah, it doesn't seem worth it at all. Yes, you can maybe like copy the Battlecry, right, with the new Dale's card that doubles Battlecries, but that's not really worth it because you're still getting a random spell and it requires so much setup that just doesn't really seem worth it. Though a good thing about this card is actually that the spell pool is quite small. I think there's like 10 Druid cards you can get with this, and then 1 neutral to Sunwell. And yeah, that makes it a bit better, right? It's a little bit more consistent, but a lot of those cards just aren't that great. Like you get some board and stuff, but none of them are really like broken that you really want to play this card for it, because again, you're not consistently getting anything. Like yeah, maybe you get like the Tree of Life, which heals you to full, and to play this card then maybe you get a card like Tree of Life just doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, yes, you can reduce this to 1 mana with the legendary, but I feel like you just rather play other cards that are just way more consistent in doing good stuff than this card. So I just don't think this card is going to be worth playing. I'll be giving it 1 star. Then for Druid we have Ebb and Flow, a 2 mana nature spell. Deal 3 damage. If you play the minion while holding this, gain 5 armor. So this looks like a good card, right? Just deal 3 baseline is good. Those cards almost always see play. But then also, if you play the minion while this, gain 5 armor. And getting armor is just really good for Druid, right? Because often, yeah, you want to get to that late game where Druid is strongest, with most decks at least. And yeah, this one is really good at it. You remove a minion and you gain the health. Just exactly what Druid wants. Though, yeah, you do need to play a minion to get the armor. And if you're playing like a late game deck, though, early on, you won't be getting that armor. So it's not a super amazing card, right? It's often not deal 3 and gain 5 armor. But you can easily do that in the late game though, get some more health, and in the early game, yeah, just having the removal by itself might be solid for Druid. So yeah, I think it's just a good card for like the slower Druid decks that want to survive, though not really amazing, because the requirement of having to play a minion is kind of holding it back. And yeah, this can also just be phase damage, which is nice, just a little bit of flexibility, right? Like most of the time, you might not use it for phase, but it does give you that extra reach. So yeah, solid card, and I'll be giving it 3 stars. Then we have a very interesting card. It's the Endangered Dodo, a 5 mana 5/5 beast. Taunt. Battlecry. If you have 10 or less health, gain +5/+5, and summon a copy of this. So by itself, 5 mana 5/5. Yeah, awful. That is just awful. But then if you're 10 health or less, it's 20/20 stats with Taunt, which is really, really good. But yeah, you need to be 10 health or less. And how often are you as Druid 10 health or less? And then you can play this and then survive the turn after. I think the times that this card is good is going to be very, very rare. Like, you have to be 10 health, and then the taunts have to save you. Like, you spend 5 mana on this, then you might not have a lot of other things to do, right? And yeah, if people start playing this card, then they'll just leave you at like 11 health instead of 8 health, and then the card is just unplayable. Though, it did kind of give you 3 health, right? But most of the time, this card is just going to be 5 mana 5/5, and you just don't want to be putting that in your deck, I think. So I'll be giving this card 1 star. And the last card for Druid that we have is Druid of Regrowth, a 6 mana 3/5 minion with Rewind and Battlecry. Cast 2 random nature spells. So yeah, for 6 mana, getting 2 random nature spells seems pretty weak. Yeah, there's the Rewind again, which is a small upside. But just for 6 mana casting 2 spells that might not help you at all, you just can't afford to play those cards. Like, yeah, it might be nice, but often they're not going to do much. They might just buff your board when you have no board, right? They might remove your minion even. They might draw when you have a full hand. It's just way too random. And for 6 mana, just potentially doing nothing, that's cards you just can't put in your deck. It's just too risky to play a 6 mana card to maybe do something. And yeah, there's maybe some big high rolls, right, with some big spells, nature spells that you could get, but I don't think that weighs up against all the cheap spells that you're way more likely to get, and that this probably is gonna be casting. So yeah, I don't think you'll be putting this in your deck, and I'll be giving it 1 star. And those are all the Druid cards for the next expansion. Now, what do you think of them? They seem pretty varying quality, right? You have some amazing cards, and then you have some terrible cards. Do you think they'll see play in Druid? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned for my next reviews. Thank you for watching, and until next time.